Track and field fans, we are 100 meters away from the finish line of the 2024 U.S. Olympic Marathon trials, which were held earlier today. What drama! If you're a track and field fan, you must have loved that. Your five Olympians right now are Connor Mance, Clayton Young, Fiona O'Keefe, winning the women's race as a debutante, Emily Sisson, the American record holder, and Dakota Lynn were amazing. Shocking results, really, on the women's side. Men's results, if we told you the team was Mance, Young, and Career, it wouldn't have been that shocking. What drama, though. Great crowd. Amazing day. Robert Johnson here, joined by genetic equal, the faster brother, the man that competed in these trials on two occasions. Weldon Johnson.
We're doing a quick 20-minute recap show. Jonathan Gault, true craftsman, tradesman, dedicated to his craft, said, no, I got to go right. So we're like, no, people want to hear, because we'll put this out for Supporters Club members, just instant reaction. Because, I mean, this is it. This was an amazing event. The Olympic trials, if you haven't been to one, you need to go. They're always great no matter where they are. Whoever thought, once you were here, it was very obvious. Whoever thought to have them at 12 noon in Orlando, and it's just not very smart. But a great day nonetheless. Amazing racing. I mean, like right now, have it right now. The sun is down. I don't care what the temperature is. The feels like temperature right now is much lower. A lot of these typical things do not account for the sun. But let's go through these races real quickly.
It could have started at 5 o'clock. Would have been fine. But hopefully the beeping, backing up noise isn't too loud. Let's start with the men. I was on the men's lead truck. Let's just go start to finish. You know, I famously said I was not at the press conference yesterday. You guys were, but Scott Fauble said, I think the top three will be under 2:8:10. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I'll give Scott Fauble $1,000 if the top three under 2:8:10. And my thought process was I watched Betsy Sano run the Australia Sydney Marathon. It was hot. She only ran 2:26. That was about 5 degrees warmer. But I was thinking to myself, in the final hour of this race, it's going to be warm. And when I woke up, was at the start line an hour and a half early. It was cold. I was glad I had my Let's Run beanie on, my long sleeve shirt. But sitting in the sun for the 30 minutes before the start, I was getting warm in my face. Once I got in the truck and we were moving, it was actually kind of chilly, but it's not chilly running in the heat, in the sun, nonstop. First 5 miles are about 5 minutes per mile. To get 2:8:10, you've got to run 4:53. I was like, okay, the money's probably in the bag. And then Zach Panning of the Hansons Brooks team just put on an exhibition for the next 15 miles. Steve Prefontaine gave him a standing ovation from the grave. Up in the sky, Steve Prefontaine. I mean, seriously. At the time, watching it mile after mile under the 450 barrier, they go through the halfway in like 64:06. I was like, this guy is a complete baller. This is amazing. This is unreal. This is, yeah, I was full of praise for it. But now that it's over and he's failed to make the team, he's my biggest winner and loser in the same race. Baller race. Prefontaine's giving him a standing ovation, but he's not going to the Olympic team. Now, would he have made the Olympic team anyways? I don't know. But when he first started doing it, I was like, he wants an honest race. He's clearly an incredible fitness. I mean, amazing fitness. He looks so good. But I'm like, why would you want to lead a marathon for 21 miles? There's a reason why Chicago, London, etc. pay rabbits. But there's a reason why when Eliud Kipchoge ran 1:59:40, he was behind a phalanx of pacers because breaking the wind takes up a toll on you. And this guy was the best rabbit ever. He ought to sign a rabbiting job. So it was heartbreaking. Like once he did all that work, I wanted him to make the team, but he didn't. But they got to the 20-mile mark.
Well, first of all, before that, like mile 17, 4:44, boom, Galen Rupp is gone. Changing of an era. I think there's no other way to put it. At that point, it was Zach Panning. Mekinen was still there. Clayton Young, Connor Mance, Leonard Career, Andrew Colley with a great run for Zap Endurance, and Quebec. Those were your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 still in the pack. And Panning just keeps hammering. And soon it's 3. It's just Panning, Young, and Mance. And after the race, it came out that that Connor Mance is a huge fan of Meb Keflezighi's book. And he's read the book multiple times, he said. He liked it so much, he gave it to Connor Young to read. think Connor Young's wife may have
Clayton Young.
Clayton Young, excuse me. Clayton Young's wife may have given it to him as a gift because he knew how much Connor liked it. Anyway, they both read the book. And in that book, Meb talks about the 2016 Olympic marathon trials held in Los Angeles, where it was warm like today. They broke free. And apparently, Meb then told them there was a guy named Tyler Pennell. And when they mentioned this name tonight, I'm like, wait, what the hell happened to Tyler Pennell? Tyler Pennell broke free with Meb. I think there was 3 of them. And Meb's like, all right, we got it. Standard control. And Tyler said no. And he kept pushing. Well, the reason a lot of you guys don't remember the name Tyler Pennell was he didn't make that Olympic team. So today, essentially, that was the scenario. Connor's like, look, I wasn't feeling that great. They were ahead. I was just like, okay, we got to stay under control here. And then even, once finally, the heat took its toll the last couple months.
So at the 20-mile mark, I was worried I was going to owe Scott Fauble $1,000. But then I thought back to myself. I'm like, wait, they say it's a 20-mile race, 20-mile warm-up, followed by, a 10K race. The halfway point of a marathon is 18 miles or 20 miles. So I was thinking, and it's getting a little bit warm. You could finally feel it. And I did the math on the online calculator. I'm like, they got to average 457 per mile home. But they'd all been like 449, 451. And then the 21st mile was 459. And instantly I thought to myself, and I got some binoculars, and it looked to me like panning was really hurting. And I'm like, okay, there's no way they're picking it up in the final 5 miles. This is going to really slow down. It's going to look like Betsy Sena in Sydney, just barely getting to the finish line. And that's exactly what happened. He fell off, ended up in the top 10, but an amazing gutsy race. He said, maybe I got a little excited. You can check out the YouTube interview, but he doesn't make it. In the end, Young and Mance, the top 2 Americans, the only 2 of the standard, they go 1-2. They deserve to go. I don't know what the fans thought of the finish. We're on the truck. I'm like, hey, do you battle it out here, or do you go hand in hand at the finish line? I kind of, because Weldon would probably always beat me in a kick. I'm like, hey, let's go. I would probably think I would want to go hand in hand with my teammate. And someone on the truck's like, maybe it was on the message board. Someone was like, there's no way that Connor Mance lets Young win this. He's just too competitive. And when, I didn't see the finish, but sounds like it was described to me, Weldon, that, Mance just was like really hurting, wanted to get to the finish line, just kept going. And then Young goes off to the side to high five the crowd, and that's it. One wins, one doesn't. So I think that's kind of lame. Like, go in together or really race it out. But hey, man, those guys were amazing. They had huge crowds here. There was people in the Mance. Check out the written recap. We got Mance's t-shirts, Young's t-shirts. The families were here. By the way, the Youngs were totally confident. His 2 daughters, ages 5 and 3, they're in the mix zone wearing shirts saying, my daddy just made the Olympic team. They weren't afraid of a jinx. Now, the mom, Mrs. Young, was a little bit afraid of the jinx because 4 years ago, she already bought her tickets to Tokyo for the family. Airbnb, she lost some money. She couldn't cancel it. Yeah. So this time, she does not have Paris tickets booked. By the way, if you live in Paris and want to host the Youngs, they'd appreciate it. But,
yeah, so a couple of things. The big question, we've been getting is, did Young let Mance win? I think the answer is yes. Was this pre-arranged? No, not at all. Does Mance think Young let him win? Maybe. But essentially, Connor said in the post-race a couple times, to Ward Stody in the press conference, that at 24 miles, and at that point, yeah, they were clear. So at 24 miles, let's see, Panning dropped off on up to the 24th mile, but really fell off hard. They were running 5:07s. 24th mile, they keep going 5:09, 5:10 for them. Panning runs 5:29. So he's done, but still 24 seconds up. You're still thinking, can he hold on? He would not make it. At that point, so at 24, apparently Mance tells Young, like, I'm not feeling that good. And he's like, just, hang with me, man. Now you got it. And so I think he could have dropped him there if he wanted to or whatever. Maybe Smart wants to go in. And then he said when they got to about 26 miles, I guess they had told him there might be some flags on the course. And he said he remembered seeing Meb, because they all read Meb's book, grabbing the flag. So that's when he went off to the side. He was trying to grab a flag. But they had also told the flag holders, don't give somebody a flag if it's a close race. So they didn't give him the flag. He just enjoyed it in. And, they go 1-2. But then the battle for third was crazy because by 24 miles, Panning was 24 seconds up on Quebec. But by 25, he still hadn't been passed yet, but he's 3 seconds up, but had lost another 20 seconds. It was over. Zach Panning's day was done essentially.
But he's caught by Quebec at 25. But Career, who was fourth 4 years ago, is 14 seconds back. Is he going to finish fourth 2 years in a row? It looked like Quebec was going to make the team in Career, but no. Lenny Career runs a 5:08.26 mile. Quebec is struggling 5:24, so he picks up 16 seconds, has a 1 second lead there, and then kicks it in to get the win. Behind him, CJ Albertson was running unreal, 4:58.26 mile. This guy always finishes strong. You know, when I was talking to him earlier in the week, he said I didn't have the best buildup, but you could tell that he envisioned himself running people down, and he almost did it because, you know, at the finish, Career makes the team 5 seconds ahead of Quebec, and then Robertson is only 5 seconds behind that. So CJ Albertson, an amazing close, 10 seconds away from making the team. Penning ends up sixth. Crazy stuff. One thing we didn't mention about early in the race, Scott Fauble was throwing up and ended up dropping out. You know, I think it's a devastating race for Fauble. He was one of the big contenders last time. At the same time, this time, I don't know how your fueling can be that bad if you're a marathoner. He had trouble in Berlin with it, supposedly revamped everything. It shouldn't be that complicated that you're throwing up in the first 10 miles. But, you know, I don't think that if he's made the team now, he's likely to ever consider to be able to call himself an Olympian. Let's talk about Galen Rupp real quick before we go to the women. You know, some people say changing of the guard. It is. But what I tell you is both Meb Keflezighi and Abdi Abdurrahman made Olympic teams, missed a cycle, and then made another Olympic team. So I do think he's talented enough if he can get healthy and, you know, have 4 good years. I would not rule out 2028 for Rupp. He's such a talent. But, you know, it's certainly a disappointing day. He was having to be carried out like of the media zone for a while, but he did come back and speak to the media. We have that up on YouTube.
A couple more comments on the men's race. Nathan Martin in 7th. Very good performance. 10th place. I mean, 7th, 2:11 flat. You know, he's only ended up being 10 seconds behind Zach Panning. Zach Panning fades to 6th. Josh Suzuki of Zappin Fitness, 2:11.09. Reed Fisher, 2:11.34 for 9th. And Colin Benny for 10th. I mean, those sort of last 4 guys, I think Martin had the best run. He stayed up there in contention for a long time. I think of these guys, essentially non-sponsored. He's got a few minor sponsors. Great run. You know, he's the fastest African American born guy ever. So good run for those guys.
Oh, so I don't miss my flight. Let's switch to the women's race. I mean, we knew this woman was made for the marathon. We talked to Alistair Craig, but we didn't know if she was talented enough to make an Olympic team. Fiona O'Keefe was absolutely sensational. 2:22.10, negative split for the win. Wins by 32 seconds over the American record holder. Crazy stuff. Just to have the guts to know that you're feeling well enough that you can pick it up in your marathon debut. You're going to leave behind the American record holder and win. She was amazing. Sisson ran a smart race. To me, you know, it's a little bit disappointing. The American record holder doesn't win the race, but all that matters is top 3. I think she was smart in hindsight. Like she says, you know, I think 4 years ago I overcooked it a little bit. She purposely was holding back in training. She knows that she's not talented enough. She doesn't have to do anything crazy to make this team. She's on the team. And then 3rd place, shocking. The 10th of our 11th long shots, Dakota Lindworm. This woman ran 16:43 for 5,000, 34 minutes for 10,000 in college. She was only 34th in the D2 NCAAs in her final college race. She was not a D2 star, never a D2 champion. And somehow she shows up at Minnesota Elite. They give her a spot. I mean, she works a job. She's still working a job as a paralegal. The head coach, Chris Lundstrom, who I talked to at length, is still working a job. And she's a goddamn Olympian. Where your dreams become reality for both of them. Lindstrom also had Annie Frisbee in the top 10. Amazing job for them. Without a shoe sponsor, amazing. I mean, she does have a small deal with Puma, but the group doesn't have a shoe deal. Crazy stuff. She's basically running a marathon at the same time pace as she could run a college 10,000 meters. She was just, you know, amazing. In Chicago in the fall, she was beaten by 4 Americans. But the 2-time Grandma's Marathon winner is going to, you know, the Olympics. And the coach Lindstrom said she's made for the marathon. She's just not that fast, but she can now do mile repeats under 5 minutes a mile or close under 5 minutes a mile. So congrats to her. Amazing story. And just a great run for O'Keefe. Like 2:22, you know, in your debut on a fairly warm day. The women started 10 minutes later than the men. They're out there longer. Negative split. I definitely think that she could break 2:20. And this is going to sound crazy, folks. But what happened 4 years ago at the Olympics was someone sponsored by Puma, American marathoner.
Got a medal.
They got a medal.
And
And that's might be crazy to say, hyperbole to say, because 4 years ago when John Galt said to me, I was exhausted, it was 2 a.m., we're finishing up our nightly work. He's like, do you want to get up in 3 hours to watch the women's marathon? I was like, no. Molly Huddle's not, I go, we don't have any medals, hopes. And we had a medal. But Weldon talked to, I think, Coach Craig, and he's like, look, she's amazing at hills.
yeah, I was sort of afterwards. I was like, okay, that was a good run. I think it is equivalent to 220. But but anyway, I was like, are we really gonna have another Molly Seidel situation? I was like, probably not. And then I talked to Amy Craig and Alistair, and I mean, they were like obviously very ecstatic. You know, they're holding a 7-month-old, their 4-month-old baby here, and great day for them, great day for the team. And she's like, do you know she's made for hills? And I was like, what? Because I was talking about she's a natural born marathoner, and she's like, she's made for the hills. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah. At Bix, I think she has a top 5 all-time time. One of the U.S. road champs, she just dominated on the hills. So they're even more bullish, I think, about her chances in Paris, which is great. That's what America needs.
By the way, supporters come and release. The Golic is with Zach Panning right now at the Brooks, and CJ Albertson right at the Brooks Hyperion House. So Lisa, if they don't have free beer there, buy those boys as much as they want. I mean, Zach made the race. As a coach, it was making me think this is stupid, this is stupid, this is stupid. But he looks so fluid. He looks so good. Again, that's a race that CP pre-fund
There's-
would just be giving a standing ovation.
There's right, and there's a mindset. Like the media stuff's right at the finish essentially, and so you're watching mainly on a tent. But I'm like, I want to go out on the course. I go out. I can't cross the course, so I'm just there at the 18-mile mark, the 10, 18, and 26-mile mark. I only see them at the 18-mile mark, and I see people in Team Panning shirts, and I'm like, do you guys know Zach Panning? And this guy turns around and he's like, my daughter married him, and I'm like, your son-in-law's a baller. And then he points, he goes, that's my daughter right there. And I just, right then I said, this is super impressive. I don't know how this will, I did say, I don't know how this will turn out, but it's very impressive no matter what. And I still think that holds. But, you know, the question comes, maybe you don't want it to go too slow, but you try to pull more of Fiona O'Keefe model. She waited till 19 miles. She opened up a gap in the 19th mile, and then just sort of cruised for home from there.
The reality is Elliot Kipchoge tried to take the lead early in Boston, and he didn't do it. So Elliot Kipchoge can't lead a marathon from start to finish. I'm doing a live show right now, so I come back. Yeah, sorry.
All right.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have local people asking us questions. But anyways, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, great run for Zach. He should be proud. Let's talk about some women. Again, I don't have a lot of time. I got to get to the airport. Kind of stunning performance to me. Like, well, first of all, we had our big 6, but one Seidel pulled out, so it was our big 5. One makes the team, right? And Emily Sisson. We had O'Keefe as a wild card. She made the team as well. But Betsy Sena does not make the team. Kira D'Amato up there does not make the team. And Sarah Hall does not make the team, although Sarah Hall did finish and she was 5th. I think, first of all, Sarah Hall, major props. 35 seconds away from making the Olympic team, her first Olympic team at age 40 in her 8th attempt. To be honest, if this race was held
Right now, I think she'd make the team.
if it was held at 6 a.m. or right now, she's on the team. She's not a good heat runner. She worked so hard at it. She should be very proud of that effort. I was afraid when they gave out an award ceremony, kind of like NCAA's, the top 10 come on the thing. People were chanting Team USA, Team US, USA. It was really exciting. I was afraid she was going to cry. She held up very well. And I hope that, Sarah, if you're listening, you should be very proud of that effort. Jessica Ton, now McLean, was 4th. Shocking performance, only 15 seconds away from the Olympic team. She did good.
I mean, that was astounding. She came in 2:29 marathon PB. Former Stanford runner. Essentially, she said she was supposed to. Was a decent runner in college, but not unbelievable. She said she thought she'd be better at the roads. Was supposed to make her half debut. I think the New York City half in 2020. Well, you know what happened then? COVID-19. She's sort of essentially just kind of backed off a bit away from the sport, came out, said, oh, her mindset was, it sounded like Kira D'Amato, I want to run a marathon before I'm 30. She did that, got down to 229 only before the trials. Yet, despite that, I was like, well, I mean, she was ecstatic. She's very happy to be fourth. She's like, look, we're gonna have a great top three, this team in Paris, but I'll be ready if something goes wrong. I mean, she was the happiest fourth place finisher you could ever see. She also didn't. She looked like she didn't sweat a drop the whole damn race. I mean, it was amazing. And I was like, how is this possible? She's like, oh, I live in Phoenix. Like, people overthink it. I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think they're used to it more running, especially in the intense sun. But what a run from 229 to running 225.46 in that heat. I mean, like, she'll get sponsored. It's sort of cool that third and fourth in women's race essentially have jobs. She's got a full-time job as well. And then the other, I mean, there was a lot of sort of intrigue in the women's story. In this day and age, how this happened is so shocking to me. I mean, you can blame Let's Run, you can blame everyone in the media, even though message boards loose. We all failed big time. There was a Boston Marathon winner in the women's race, and nobody knew about it. And I'm not talking about Des Linden. Carolyn Rotich, who won Boston, I think in, I shouldn't say the year, I think in 2017, 2015, somewhere in there. She got U.S. citizenship in October. She was in the race. Her last marathons have gone horrendous. And she was right with Dakota at 24 miles. Then 25th mile, Dakota puts 11 seconds on her, and that was it. She finished sixth place, but
we didn't even know she was running.
It's amazing. Nobody realized it. Obviously, she was on the list, but just pretty crazy.
Well, Rojo's theory of always bet on people born in Kenya didn't work so well for me in the prediction contest. I don't think that I won it. Shout out to Des Linden. She finished 11th in this race in 228. Good for her. Solid run. But just, it was a great day. It's so exciting. I was like, why am I going this? Am I really going to get any interviews that other people don't get that Weldon and John can't get? But I was thrilled to be on the men's truck, to hear the crowds. They were massive. And I got to talk to the Young's parents, to meet his kids, talk to them. It's going to be in the article. It was just really great to be here. A great day for distance running. And a lot to think ahead. Can
one other guy, Paul Chuimo's debut disaster. He was in the media room before they were even halfway, I think. He was watching the race. I don't think we spoke to him, but I guess he can turn his attention to the track. Total non-factor.
Carolyn Rotich, for the record, won the 2015 Boston Marathon. Sam Chalanga, he trains with Young and Mance, but was never even up there. You talked to him right afterwards? What did he have to say?
He's like, I think the sickness from Houston, I never really got over it, was his explanation. His wife was, I think, top 25 for sure. She just started running. That was kind of a cool story. Lindsay Flanagan, Emily Durgan, Annie Frisbee rounding out your top 10. I think if you make top 10, you deserve to get a mention on the recap show. Oh, McKenna Myler, also, she's in the Utah group of Mance and Young. So great day for them. Great day for Ed Eyestone's group. I mean, that was sort of one thing that, well, everybody, if you want to make the team, you need to go out and read Matt Keflezighi's book. But that was one thing Mance said afterwards. It was sort of interesting, the connection. There is the BYU connection that goes all the way back to Eyestone. And there's a connection between the runners. But Mance said, look, I wanted to go to BYU because of Ed Eyestone. And I looked and I knew the success he had developing Olympians, because he developed Jared Ward. And then also he said, look, I look up to Clayton Young hugely as in high school. I was a freshman. He was a senior. He was like just a complete stud, amazing runner. So it's kind of cool that, they're now training partners, both on the Olympic team. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in Paris. I don't expect the men to do anything, but I got high hopes for Fiona O'Keefe. Emily, she's obviously the American record holder, but like my eggs are for Paris are in the O'Keefe basket. I think Emily still hasn't. She's run a pretty good marathon, but and I'm sure you got most people, 95% of you saw this race. If you didn't, Fiona O'Keefe, it looks effortless. Her running, her stride. There's very little balance. It just looks like she's made to run this distance.
All right, I agree with you on that. You got to give a shout out to everybody in the top 10. And did we say Nathan Martin, Josh Zizki of Zap Endurance in 8th?
Yeah, we did them.
Reed Fisher, Tim and Elite, they also 9th, and Tim and Elite also had 12th with Winter. So shout out to them. Simbasa, Under Armour, Colin Binney, Brooks. We don't think we mentioned that, former Syracuse runner.
I guess one thing now, a lot of the attention turns to will Lenny Career make the team?
I think he will. John's actually got some good news on that front. Jonathan Gault's calculated his new world ranking. He's going to move ahead of Fable, so that might help him a little bit. But
I mean, the big question now essentially is the window doesn't close, I think, till April, maybe May. Do a bunch of random people from these random countries go hit the 20810 standard who haven't already hit it? So if like 10 more do that, then I think he's out. Unless someone from the US goes and hits it, then you could sub him in. He's not allowed to go hit it. There's a little confusion there. We were talking to Scott Douglas, who's working at Runner's World, and essentially they're asking the same questions to the USATF or that we said, like, look, why not let him go chase? And some of the rules don't make perfect sense, but
No,
the situation is what it is.
they've also said that they won't kick you off the team if you do run a marathon between now and then. But if you run a fast time, that time won't count. That doesn't make any sense. Yet again, shocker, USATF is not on top of their game in terms of that. But in terms of setting up and giving Orlando the bid, it was beautiful. That being said, I heard today that the temperatures in Chattanooga were in the 40s. If this race is run in the 40s, I do think we have 3 men under 20810. But
I think guaranteed.
exciting stuff. Amazing run, amazing drama, and thank you for your support.
Yes, one more question. The 20810s from Boston don't count. Boston is not an eligible course. So if an American can't unlock the spot, but the problem is most of the Americans are going to go to Boston. Why would you? Maybe who's going to go to London and try to get it for Scott? I mean, for Lenny. I think he'll get in on the world ranking. But if not, one more tidbit on Lenny. He said, look, I had given up on top 3. I didn't think I was going to get top 3, but I was fighting for every spot. I just wanted to get back to, like, he's like, I was thinking, like, maybe I can get 4th like 4 years ago. And that just shows, like, he said, you know, it's like commanders last time after he got 4th in the Army were like, you can get him next time. And I think there's something to be said. You don't quit in these races. It's the Olympic trials. You'll never know how to turn out. He did it. I think a big question mark. Zach Panning is a bright start. He was a bright spot today, shown very brightly, too brightly. But like, what's next for him? Can he keep it at this level? I think he can. I think he's gonna and make the team in 4 years. I mean, that's a lot to ask. Or does he go the Tyler Pennell route? I think Zach Panning, this is just the beginning for him. It's very exciting to have a talent like this. That top 10 in Hungary, he more than justified it today. But it's still a marathon, and that's the beauty of it. I think you need the conditions these days to sort of remind people it's still a marathon. But we saw it today. It's 26.2 miles for a reason, and congrats to everyone who came out, everyone who cheered, everyone at home.
And this race, though, is just much more exciting than a ravaged race because you have the moves, you have a slow start, you have people fading, coming back, big closes. It was a little bit more unpredictable than your average time trial marathon. Good stuff. Thanks for joining us. Until next time.